My name is William Troyer, sitting down here with Katie Sowers, offensive assistant coach for the San Francisco 49ers. Katie, thank you for joining us today.
Thank you for having me, and thank you for coming all the way from Goshen.
She is the second full-time women's coach in the NFL, actually now the only full-time women's coach in the NFL. Born and raised in Heston, Kansas, Goshen College alumna, and a three-sport athlete while attending Goshen College. After graduating from Goshen College in 2010 with a physical education major, she went on to play 5 years in the Women's Football Alliance with the Kansas City Titans, where in fact she won a 2013 women's title with the Titans. After her playing career was over, she took over as general manager for the Kansas City Titans for one season. 1 year later, she found herself accepting an internship with Atlanta Falcons under the offensive coordinator Kyle Shanahan. After the 2016 season, Shanahan took over the head coaching position with the San Francisco 49ers. She followed him to the Bay Area, and now you find yourself with a full-time position on the team. Katie, thank you for joining us once again. What was it like playing for the Kansas City Titans that got you interested, or was it something earlier in your life?
So growing up, football was always one of my favorite sports. I actually grew up playing in the backyard with all the neighborhood boys. My twin sister and I, we would would get old pads that my dad gave us for Christmas because he was a basketball coach at Bethel College. And so he got some old pads one Christmas and gave it. It was the best Christmas ever. So we'd always play in the backyard, and that was always my first love of sports. You know, people always kind of see me as a basketball player back, you know, in my college, high school, but it was really football that was my passion. And so after I graduated Goshen College, I found, actually through my victory lap at Goshen College, finishing up there, I found football. And so I actually started playing in a team in northern Indiana, but it was right off the border in Michigan. It's called the West Michigan Mayhem. So we'd always drive north, my twin sister and I, and started playing football there. And that's where, you know, I realized that I didn't have to just believe that, you know, it was only a men's sport. You know, I didn't have to settle with coaching basketball. I could actually coach football, which was my true passion.
How did you find out about the Women's Football Alliance, and what was your experience with the Kansas City Titans?
So I found out about the Women's Football Alliance. One day I was sitting in my room, and sports was coming to an end for me, and I always had identified as an athlete, and so I knew I had to keep continuing doing something. And I remembered seeing some clip of some female playing football somewhere. I think it happened to be like on an ESPN top 10. It was some random catch in some random, you know, women's football league. And so I Googled women's tackle football in the area, and I found the Women's Football Alliance, and I found a team fairly close to Goshen. So I decided that I would check it out. So it was almost about an hour and 20 minutes every day, just one way. 3 days a week, we would travel after track practice, after school, I would travel an hour and 15 minutes, go play football, travel an hour and 15 minutes back, just to do it all over again.
Being an NFL coach is a full-time job, so what does your typical work week look like?
So I don't have a typical work week because it's more of a lifestyle than it is clock in and clock out. When you take it upon yourself to do a job like coaching in the NFL, you have to give up a lot, but it's worth it if you're passionate about it, if you love the game. So a typical day would look like coming in early, 5 a.m., 5:30, starting to get ready, breaking down film, doing formations of opponents that we might be playing coming up in within the next week, 2 weeks, trying to plan in advance, meetings, practices, anything that involves football. That's any of our job responsibilities.
When you were hired with the 49ers, you publicly thanked Falcons general manager Scott Pioli. How has he helped you settle in the league?
So Scott Pioli has been amazing, and he's, I would say, one of the trailblazers within the NFL, and really pushing to get a more diverse atmosphere in the NFL. So I don't feel like there's such thing as luck, but I do say that I feel I was lucky when it came to meeting him. But I do think there was an aspect of you work your way to put yourself in opportunities to get lucky, and that's what happened. I knew I wanted to coach. I knew I loved football. I knew that there were opportunities to coach basketball. At that point, I didn't know there were opportunities to coach football. So I needed some extra money, started to coach. It was actually I was supposed to coach 6th grade girls basketball, and they messed up the schedule. I'm so sorry, we messed up the schedule. Can you coach 5th grade girls basketball? I'm like, 5th grade, 6th grade, same thing. Just so happened that the 5th grade girls basketball team, Scott Pioli's daughter, played on that team. So that's where I really got to know Scott, and he got to know my background playing for the USA women's national team, coaching football, loving football, and he has been a huge advocate for me, and not just getting me to where I am because I'm a female, but getting me to where I am because of what I can bring to any organization.
49ers receiver Marquise Goodwin was quoted saying, "Katie is a baller at 100%. Would you say this is your relationship with all or most players?
Yes, absolutely. I would love to think that all of the NFL has players of the quality that I've interacted with throughout the Atlanta Falcons, throughout the 49ers. I would hope that that's the case, but every single player that I've come in contact with has been a professional, and that's what they are. They're true professionals.
Overall, since you've started your NFL coaching career, it is known that you are openly gay. Has that brought any challenges along the way, or has that not been a factor whatsoever?
You know, when that whole article came out about me being openly gay, I didn't know that it would blow up like it did, because to me that I was just being who I am. I don't think that it brought any obstacles more so than what I've lived throughout my whole life, and that any gay or lesbian person might encounter on a daily basis. There's always going to be stereotypes, whether I'm a female coaching football, whether I'm a lesbian, whether I'm, whatever it is, whether I'm black, whether I'm white. There's stereotypes no matter what. And I think that's more of a societal thing than it is within your job responsibilities.
That you're a full-time coach of the 49ers, do you find it difficult to stay in touch with people back in Heston, or with friends or teammates from Goshen College?
It's hard to stay in touch with anybody. It's hard to stay in touch with my family. But you really start to realize what's important in life, and that's really the relationships that you build with people. And that seems like a cliche thing to say, but when you follow your passion and you're doing something that you love so much, it's the little things. It's my nephew who's now running, who last I saw him, he was just like a little blob on the floor, and now he's running. But it's the moments that you do get with them, you start to really appreciate more. And so even though it's hard to keep in contact with my friends from Heston, my friends from Goshen, when I do see them, and I actually am going to see some friends from Goshen after this today, and some of them are coming to the game, it's those moments you really, you appreciate. Even if it's just an hour, you appreciate them more.
What were some things about Goshen College that stood out from other colleges that you were looking at?
Goshen, as well as Heston College, so starting at Heston, moving to Goshen, the people, I would say the people at Goshen, it's a different atmosphere than other places that you'll find. The people are so open-minded, so loving. So, everything that's opposite of what you would think of when you try to categorize a religion, a religious school. A lot of times people try to think, oh, they're going to, they're not going to accept me for this. They're going to think this way. Goshen and Heston College and places like that, they're so welcoming to all types of people, no matter what your religion, no matter what your race, gender, sexual orientation. So their places are just really full of just embracing and loving.
I think that's all the time we have today, Katie. Thank you so much for taking the time out of your busy schedule to answer a few questions for us. Again, Katie Sowers, offensive assistant coach of the San Francisco 49ers. My name is William Troyer, and this is 91.1 The Globe.